Hey, Supervisor. My name is Kelly Rathman. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I run a private practice, and I also provide clinical supervision to MFTs and ASWs, as well as trainees who are still in school. And this is something that I'm really passionate about. I spend a lot of time doing it and thinking about it and talking about it. And my hope is that this space will provide a good format for talking about supervision issues, themes, interesting topics, maybe some inspiration, and maybe some camaraderie for other supervisors who are doing this work. I feel like I've got a pretty unique perspective in that I've provided clinical supervision in many different agencies in many different ways. As a staff supervisor, as well as a contracted supervisor, as well as in my private practice, which is a whole different thing. That will probably be its own episode, just talking about private practice supervision, because yeah, that's a whole journey. And I'm really hoping that this is something that's going to be interesting and helpful to other supervisors out there. I've worked in areas where there was not any support for the other supervisors at all. We were sort of siloed and all doing our own thing, or sometimes there weren't any other supervisors. That could feel pretty lonely. I've worked in wonderful agencies where there was a supervision group, supervision of supervision, which helped all of us to be better supervisors. There's a lot of material out there. There's many books out there. There's tons of articles. I will share a lot of that here. And there's also programs out there. I was lucky enough to go to an amazing program at Smith College School for Social Work. That was where I got my master's in clinical social work. But they also have a supervision program, a clinical supervision program. It's a year long, and it was wonderful, just really wonderful. I should say that I'm grounded in psychodynamic, a psychodynamic orientation. That is how I work. That's how I work with clients, and it's also how I work with my supervisees. And so if that's something that's interesting to you, to learn what does that mean to work psychodynamically with supervisees, then stick around, see if there's something here that's helpful for you. To me, working psychodynamically means that the relationship between the therapist and the client is of the utmost importance, in the sense that it's what we consider like the special sauce, right? Like a CBT therapist. It's not that they don't care about their relationship with their clients. Of course they do, but they don't think that that's necessarily the special sauce. Like, that's not where the work is happening necessarily. And with a psychodynamic therapist, that's where we think the work is happening. That if the client feels safe and secure, and this is a real, actual relationship, we are an actual trusting and trustworthy person, and I'm a real person, I'm not a blank slate like those early, psychoanalysts and how we learn about them, that they're able to do their work safely. And I think the same is true for supervisees, for therapists who are learning to be therapists. It's super vulnerable. It's hard work. And I think it's really important that they feel safe in supervision to be able to talk about all those vulnerable aspects, so that stuff doesn't spill out in weird ways in the work with their clients. So I'm going to talk a lot about that. And I think that, the question comes up, I've had a lot of conversations with other supervisors, and this question comes up all the time about, is supervision, like, how do we keep it not therapy? Because if we're sitting with a supervisee and they've got stuff going on in their personal lives, of course we're going to hear about it. Of course we're going to know. And I think it's really important that we do know what's going on in their personal lives to some extent, as it pertains to how they're showing up at work. But also it helps us as supervisors and fellow therapists, like, know who this person is, because that is how they're gonna do their work in the unique way that they're going to do their work. So, supervision is not therapy, but it's not impersonal to me. That's not the way I work. I very much care about my supervisees' personal lives and what's going on for them and how that's showing up in their work. And I think that it's it's not so black and white of like, you can't talk about this in supervision and you can talk about this. That's something that we're constantly feeling our way through in the relationship. So I'm going to have a lot of topics to bring, and I'm not sure how frequent this is going to be. We'll kind of feel it out and see, how much content there is that feels helpful. And I'm hoping to have some kind of interaction with people who are showing up here in the form of questions and comments. I'm really open to that. And of course, open to constructive feedback as well. I'm hoping that people will ask questions that I can bring to these videos and answer some questions and have some, maybe specific cases and things to talk about, which I think can be really helpful and really enriching when we're learning about supervision and talking about it. Because I found that, just like in therapy, you could read all the case vignettes and you can read all the books, but when a client actually comes into your office, they are a whole complex person, and stuff can come up that you're like, oh, I didn't learn this. Like, there's nowhere in the books where this gets explained. There are funny and weird and unusual scenarios. There's, ways in which there might be a conflict of interest that you could have never foreseen, and then how do you manage that? And similar things can come up in supervision too. And so I think that there's just a way that if we talk about actual, I don't want to call it cases because my supervisees are not my cases, they're my supervisees, but these specific examples of dilemmas, challenges, particular things we've had to work through that can be really illuminating and can be really interesting. So that's my hope for this channel, Hey Supervisor. And I have an email, it's heysupervisor@gmail.com. You are welcome to email me there with any questions, comments, anything you might want to share. And you're of course welcome to comment here, and I will respond. And I hope to see you back here, and we'll see where this journey takes us. And thank you so much for being here and for watching and checking in. And I appreciate all the work you do, whether you are a supervisor, a clinician, a trainee, maybe you're someone who's actually just considering going into this work and thinking about going to grad school, and you somehow found me here. Anyone who's thinking about this stuff, about the world of mental health and how it can look, you're welcome here, and I hope that you find something here that's useful to you. So be well and take it easy. Bye.